All right, folks, and there you have it. There you have it. Guilty. Jussie Smollett's been found guilty. So let's real quick go over exactly what he's been found guilty of. Guilty of telling police officer he was in a hate crime. Or excuse me, that he was a hate crime victim. Guilty of telling officer he was battery victim. Guilty of telling detective he was hate crime victim. Guilty of telling detective he was battery victim. Guilty of telling detective again he was battery victim. But a sixth count telling second detective he was aggravated battery victim, he's not guilty. I think there's a stipulation with that. So he was found guilty of 5 out of 6 counts of disorderly conduct charges. Why am I making a video about this, right? Well, first, like I said, we talk about everything. And I'm going to kind of go over real quick how we even got here, right? Because really, a person like Jussie is not, to me, that much of importance to really talk about. But it's the action that he did that I'm like, yo, let's talk about it, you know? But first, why don't we recap? How did we get here? Okay, so I remember this 2 years ago. I remember when this happened. I was in a hospital, and like I looked on the television, and then here it was like, they were saying like, nah, I saw it on Instagram first. All the celebrities was like justice for Jussie because everybody loves the hashtag justice for Jussie. When I look, I found out like they saying he had gotten beat up and everything. And so Jussie told the story saying that he was walking down the streets of Chicago at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I think it was during a polar vortex, okay? And he went to go get a sub, I don't know, some tuna sub from Subway. I guess he likes the artificial flavoring. And while he was walking, he said two people, I don't think he did say they were white, but he said two people walked up to him in Chicago and was like, I can't say the words, the F word, empire, N word. So this MAGA country, N word, right? In Chicago. Then I think he said they assaulted him, they poured bleach on him, and they tied a noose around his neck. Then he went home. He didn't call the cops first. And I remember that. He didn't call the cops first. I think he called like his agent or something. And then they finally called the cops. And when the cops came, he still had the noose around his neck. And he smelled the bleach. And I swore I saw footage of like him being like, oh, the noose is around my neck. Like, okay. So from all that time, he had the noose around his neck. So that was the story, and everybody was like, justice for Jussie. This was around the time, this was 2019, and Donald Trump was the president. So, it was automatically like, oh, Donald Trump's supporters were in Chicago. Of course, Donald Trump supporters were in Chicago at 2 a.m., and they called him names and told him that Chicago is MAGA country. Go figure. I guess those Trump supporters, those MAGA people, they just show up wherever, right? I'm not even showing up in the streets of Chicago at 2 o'clock in the morning, but okay, anyway. But I remember being like, oh, this feels kind of weird. I don't know. Me and my friend, of course, we was like kind of, I'm so glad I never did the whole justice for Jussie. And like, we were like, I don't know, it's kind of weird. And I keep laughing, because this is bringing me back to a whole nother time. I remember Joe Buttons was like, he called it out on YouTube, on his YouTube podcast. He was like, I don't believe that story. He's like, I don't. He was like, maybe he probably did. I mean, he's like, I'm sure he probably got his ass whooped. He was like, sometimes you get beat up and then, you don't want to tell people that you got beat up. So you need to come up with something. He was like, I did that before. You don't want to take that L. And I remember thinking like, yo, I don't think it's true either. But what was the icing on the cherry on the pie of everything was the interview that he did with Robin Roberts. And I remember I just went and looked at it again just to kind of refresh the feeling that I got when I watched this interview, and I was like, yo, this brother is all over the place, okay? A lot of reasons people didn't believe him was he didn't want to hand over his cell phone. He refused to hand over his cell phone. And when he was talking to her, he was like, the tech wanted to take my phone for 3 hours, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not just like, just like that. And it's like, so I get, kinfolk, we were going to talk like that. So Jussie can feel like, he's approachable. Then he changes his voice a little bit a few times in this video. Anyway, and then she's like, well, why not? He's like, I have videos on there. And then he goes straight. I got numbers. My partner's number is on there. Of course, you go straight to partner, because if somebody be like anything else, the gay, was my privacy type thing. If somebody beat me up in the streets and said MAGA country and put a noose around my neck, I'm gonna have to tell everybody, like, yo, my bad, y'all, man. I'm sorry, we was talking about the weird stuff on the. They're gonna, all my people, my supporters will be like, yo, give the phone up. They were like, give the phone up, right? And then he was like, and then I smelt the bleach on me. He was like, and there was bleach on my shirt, because it was like a bad bleach job. It was just like a bad bleach job. What is a bad bleach job? What is that, Jussie? Tell me what a bad bleach job. When somebody lying and they keep talking, what are you explaining a bad bleach job? Okay. And then she was like, well, people thought it was kind of weird that you were going to Subway at that time of night or whatever. And he's like, I don't understand. Like, there's parts in the interview where he's like, and for me to be a homosexual black man, to deal with that, like, he would talk like that. Then there's parts in the interview where he's like, when she asked him about the Subway, and then he's like, I don't know why people keep saying that. Subway is open 24 hours. It's open 24 hours for a reason. If you ain't got no food, you gonna go eat. If you ain't got no, he gets comfortable again. So it's irritating watching this thing. But then there's a part, of course, so now he brings it to all that. He's like, a lot of people think just because I'm a gay man that I'm expected to be weak. But I'm not weak. And we as a people, we not weak. He said, if this was a Muslim, Mexican, or black man, nobody would be doubting me. And that says a lot about where we are in this country today. So, of course, when they ask him, why do you think this happened to you? And he's like, well, I don't know. I guess because I go hard for 45. Yeah, that's how he said it. I go really hard for 45. And I'm like, bruh, nobody even knew, and his administration. And I'm like, bro, nobody even knew you was going hard for anything. I did not know he was going hard for 45, whatever that means. Kind of weird, actually. Then they show you Trump. They asked Trump, how do you feel about what happened to Jussie? And he was like, terrible. He's like, really terrible. He's like, that's really horrible, and it doesn't get any worse than that. Well, Trump apparently was getting ready to get worse than that, because the whole thing was a lie. And then he says he's forever changed about this, and this would be the thing that that happened to me. Then Jussie had went to some jazz show and started screaming out that he's the gay Tupac, and that's when I knew. I was like, this man is absolutely insane. And to me, Jussie Smollett presents with borderline personality disorder. Somebody who wants to be loved, needs acceptance. A lot of times, I don't know why people, what happens in their childhood, what makes them feel like they need to be accepted. We all go through something, right? But some people, it morphs into a very perverted, perverse way of reacting in life. The BPD, borderline personality disorder, was like, I'm a victim, look at me, I need help. But it's a cry for help, but you're crying wolf, basically. I'm not trying to minimize anything, because that really is a diagnosis, and it's something that people should be able to work on. So you should be able to notice that you have certain tendencies to do certain things, act certain way, maybe blow things out of proportion, and step back and see what your triggers are, so it really is a real thing. But Jussie, I don't know how long he's had this, but he's never dealt with it. Never. So all right, so it came down that he hired these two black African, massively warrior-looking black African people to do this thing to him. They did a dry run of everything on how it was going to be done. And they said that he was like, yo, I'm not getting paid enough, and I think they about to take me off of Empire. So I need a crisis. That's some pretty good thinking, though. I got to hand it to him, because he knows how the world works. Let's make him a victim, and then now we're not gonna take him off, or maybe we could work on, I guess he probably felt like we can expand on this, right? Jussie now, during the trial, says one of the guys was his boyfriend. And not that, the guy, I don't know if the guy's gay or not, but really, really, okay? Just still drawing attention to himself. I mean, this whole thing has been an attention, just seeking attention. And when they're reading his text messages and it has the N word all over it, he gets mad at the prosecutor. Oh, stop using that word. That's offensive to all the black people in here. Of course, the prosecutor is, of course, like, oh, shoot, my bad. I'm sorry. Feels the guilt. And then, says N word, N word. But that's Jussie, I guess, his last hurrah to save the black race. I'm going to tell this white man to stop using that word, because it does something to black people. I'm going to save black people while I'm here making a fool of myself in this courtroom. And that's where I'm bringing it to how I feel. Yeah, I laugh about it because this was the biggest reality TV show ridiculousness I had ever seen come to play. When you watch, did you see why I don't like the corporate press? Joe Budden could smell that was a lie. My best friend could smell that was a lie. I could smell. Any normie could tell it was a lie. But people love a hashtag. Hashtag justice for Jussie. They love a story. Oh, yeah. You see Robin Roberts, like, really, she don't believe him, but she's still going along with it. Oh, yeah, it's not his fault that the camera wasn't working. I mean, he was really distraught about it. No, he's an actor. And a bad one at that, actually, right? Why this infuriates me. Why I feel like it does need to be talked about, even though Jussie Smollett is not anybody important. First of all, they spent like 3,000 hours of like man time looking for the MAGA people, okay, in Chicago. Chicago police are swamped with plenty of other stuff that they could be doing. I remember when the police chief came out and said that this was a lie. And then the Soros-funded DA in Chicago was not going to prosecute Jussie. But be that as it may, I don't know how it happened, and he ended up getting prosecuted. But she wasn't. Remember, they dropped the charges on him. Okay. And so now you sit here and y'all love victimhood that much. Black is not victimhood. Gay is not victimhood. Why do people love that so much? You made up this huge, you didn't think you were going to get caught. How stupid do you think people are? It is like, yo, man, y'all celebrities, you're not even that much of a celebrity, bruh, for you to even think that you are above people like, yeah, these people they're not going to figure it out. No, you're not even that much of a celebrity because you're able to walk outside in Chicago to Subway by yourself, Denzel Washington isn't doing that. Robert Pattinson, he's not doing that. You're doing that, right? So how do you think people are that dumb? But then again, it is that disorder. It really is a disorder because he soaked all into it, and then turned around and made something so serious, such as having hate crimes done to you. That this stuff still happens. There are bad people out here, right? But when you become a person who's lying in such an extraordinary show, it is baffling. Like you minimize the real fight if somebody is fighting for something with your celebrity privilege. And you got to go on Good Morning America and tell them that you were hurt, but that you were strong gay Tupac, right? But you're still oppressed, I'm sure. That stuff does make me mad because there is somebody out here who probably has been hurt by some bad people. They don't get the platform that you are blessed to have, that you were privileged to have. And look what you did with it. So, yeah, if they put you in jail, I don't feel bad. Some people would say, like, oh, it's not that deep to put them in jail. It is that deep. It delegitimizes everything serious in this country at a time where people are so divided. I go hard for 45. For what? Why were you going so hard for 45? Did you know anything coming out of that administration? I'm sure you didn't, because that's what people like Jussie does. They hear racism or white supremacy, and then they work on emotions instead of really figuring out for themselves. And that's what the corporate press does, because nobody really looked into this. But they wanted the interview, so I already know. They knew he was lying. They had to know. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and just say they wanted the ratings. So, yeah. So, Jussie was found guilty, as he should have been. It shouldn't even have took this long to find him guilty. And I hope this serves as a lesson to people who want to make up big lies about stuff. You know, you got Black Lives Matter stuff, and we stand behind Jussie because the cops lie all the time. I don't know what that means. This is why people look at certain issues that Black Lives Matter could be making. I mean, look at it as a joke. Look what you're standing behind. A fraud, an absolute fraud with a mental health disorder, you know? So I hope he gets help. I do hope I hope that this is a humbling experience for him and that he finally sits back and says, you know, maybe I have a problem. Maybe I have a problem. Maybe he talks to God, you know, get some therapy if he goes to prison, if he even goes. If he even goes, right? Well, these people are so privileged with their celebrity status. There's the privilege, you know? But then he'll tell you he's oppressed. You had time that day. So anyway, that's the story with Jussie, and that's why I felt like it should have been talked about. While he is a D-list actor, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, when I was a little girl, I did have a crush on him. But anyway, while he is not of any importance to me as a person, his actions were disgusting, and he got found guilty. And so we'll see how they sentence him. All right, guys, I'll see you guys at the next video. Bye.